Hey guys, Casual Game Ready 4. Welcome back to the game room. Today I have some pickups and a little history lesson about Nintendo. So stick around. Alright guys, thanks for sticking around. We're going to get straight into these pickups and I'm going to show you a few things before I get into my Nintendo history lesson. So for the Switch, I picked up Alwa's Collection. I did not know that this game existed. I do have Alwa's Awakening digitally on the Switch, and it's a fun game if you like that 16-bit era style games, Metroidvania style. You'll definitely like it. Also on here is Alwa's Legacy. So glad to have both of those games in this collection in physical format. It also came with some stickers. I won't be using these stickers, but it's still cool that they included something since there's no manual in here. But yeah, I think this was like $15 or something like that. It wasn't bad at all. Glad to have that in the collection. The next thing I picked up was another good eBay pickup. Well, good in the sense that I got it cheap. Bad in the sense that I already had the game and didn't realize it. But for what I paid for it, you can't go wrong. And that is McKids on the NES. Good platforming game, very fun. So I didn't expect it to ship in a dust cover, which is kind of an added bonus, I guess, considering what I give for the game. So, eBay auction. Waited to the very last 30 seconds, 40 seconds or so. No one had bid on it. I bid $1 and won it. So I had a copy of McKids and a dust cover. Dust cover is probably worth $1 for $1. You really can't go wrong there at all. So since I do already have this, I'm going to compare the condition to the one that I've got. Obviously upgrade mine. And this will probably go into a giveaway down the road or something like that. Maybe like a blind bag giveaway or something. I've been tossing that idea around. But nonetheless, NES game, a good NES game on eBay for $1. You can't beat it, guys. You cannot beat it. Alright, so the next thing that I got, I don't want to say it's a holy grail, but it's definitely an item that I wanted in my collection. Not that I'm super big into like history and things like that, but I think it's cool to kind of see the progression of video game systems in this case, where they've came from and potentially where they're going and things like that. So one thing that I've done of recent is, not that I have everything in my collection that I want, but I do have a lot of the things that I want. So some things that I don't have in my collection that I would want would be, some higher end stuff, some Toxic Crusaders on NES, some DuckTales 2, Chip 'n Dale's 2, things like that. And it's going to take a while to get those at a good price. So something that I've kind of been doing of lately is kind of scratching my video game collecting itch and kind of dipping my toes into the import arena and importing some things. And it has been a lot of fun, guys. So the next thing that I got was something that I wanted. You all know that I already have a Famicom, but I picked up the Sharp Twin Famicom, which is a Famicom and the Famicom Disk System all in one. Pretty cool. So where the history lesson comes in is the Sharp Twin Famicom released in 1986. The Famicom Disk System released in February of '86, I do believe, and then Nintendo licensed their Famicom and their Famicom Disk System out to Sharp, and Sharp released the Sharp Twin Famicom in July of 1986, I do believe. And at launch, they released the black and the red one. They also have another one that is opposite colors, so it'd be red with black highlights. I'll throw a picture of that up here. Now that one's a little too pow in your face for me. I do like this one. I think it's an awesome looking console. And one of the cool things about it is it does come with AV out, so you don't have to worry about RF, things like that. Super easy to hook up. Some of the things that Sharp did here is they essentially removed all the Nintendo branding from the outside of this. It's Sharp Twin Famicom. There's nothing Nintendo on it at all. Even the controllers are Twin Famicom. No Nintendo branding on it at all. They even went as far as the Famicom Disk System loading screen to take off the Nintendo. I think it just says Famicom Disk System now. Or it might say Disk System. I'm not sure. I'll throw a picture of that up here too, so y'all can see that. But they did take that off. Awesome, awesome concept. I got this one at what I think was a good price. I think I give $125 for it, and it does have a new belt in it. Well, the seller said it had a new belt in it, and you know the condition that it arrived in is great, and it works. So I have no reason not to believe that it has a new belt in it. Everything functions great. You have your Famicom cartridge slot, which is your Japanese version of the NES. It's 60 pin instead of 72 pin. So you can play your Famicom cartridges. You push this little lever up, and then you can play your Famicom disc games, and it blocks out your cartridge. The one downfall to it is the cords are attached. I think that these are actually a little longer than the Famicom that I have, which is nice. You can do mods and things like that to put these modern or NES controllers on them. I'm sure I mentioned it in my Famicom video, but you can see that the controller is your D-pad, start and select A and B. Where the Famicom is different is on the Player 2 controller. You have no start and select, but you have a microphone. So I don't know if you've ever played some NES games and the start and select buttons don't work on the Player 2 controller. That's because it's the same game that came out on the Famicom, and it's not in the programming for those buttons to work. There are some games that use the microphone, very few. The biggest one that I can think of is Legend of Zelda. There's a point in there where I think it's Pole's voice is the bad guy's name. You scream into the microphone and get rid of them. Cool system. Definitely like it. You have your power button and reset button, your eject button for your cartridges, your eject button for your disc, and the light is lets you know when it's reading the disc. So why did we not get a Famicom Disk System? Because it came out. Things come out usually then a year later for the western part of the world. But the reason they developed the Famicom Disk System is because shortage of semiconductors and the cost of making cartridges and things like that. They found that it was a lot cheaper to put on a floppy because it is a floppy disk. So before I get into that, along with my Famicom Disk System, I got Doki Doki Panic for the Famicom Disk System. The gameplay of this would look very familiar to you all if you all pulled it up. We got basically a sprite swap of this known as Super Mario Brothers 2 because Japanese Super Mario Brothers 2 was too hard for us Westerners, which I don't believe. But they done a sprite swap. That's why Mario Bros. 2 looks so dramatically different than other games. But back to what I was saying with the disc. They were floppy disk. Looks just like this. Side A and a side B. I had actually had that backwards. We're on side A now. Thing that you'll notice of this floppy disk is there's no gate covering up the disc itself. So they're very, very delicate. And they just sent them in this little wax paper slip to put them in. Something else you notice on them is it says Nintendo on it. All of that does look cool. You can see that the I and the N is a little deeper than the rest of them. That was their copyright protection. There's actually a stamp on the inside of the disk drive that goes into there. If it doesn't set into those correctly, it won't boot the game. But they found out that you could fit more on a disc. So some of the Famicom disc games have better soundtracks. You had a save feature here to where we had password and things like that. And in some games, such as Super Mario Brothers 2, would be on like A side. You'd have a blank side on B side, and they had what they called the disc writer, which I'll throw a picture of it up here. It was in stores, and you could basically take your disc in and write a game to that, and you'd get it at a reduced cost. I think that if you just went in and had to write a game to a blank disc, that you could get from that kiosk or disc writer, like $15 or something. You could even print out a manual for that game. With that being said, that's the difficult part about collecting for the disc system, is you don't know if the game that it says it is what it actually is until you try it, because it could have been overwritten. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, kind of cool in many ways to collect for, and there's a lot of games that came out on the disc system that we did not get over here, that I'm looking forward to putting in my collection. And they actually came in these cool little jewel cases. This one isn't complete because you'd have this, you'd have the manual, and then it would be in like a plastic sleeve. One game that I have to get for this is The Legend of Zelda, because it was actually a launch title for the Famicom Disk System, which is kind of cool. So definitely on the lookout for that. So why didn't we get it over here? Back to that question. We didn't get it over here because by the time they was ready to release it over here, which they were going to do, semiconductors and things like that were more readily available. The cost of things were down. We came up with battery saves. So they put a little like coin battery in games. You all know about that. Legend of Zelda Go Kart, the prime example of that. And there really wasn't a need for it. Not to mention, in order for developers to get their games on a disc system, disc, Nintendo wanted 50% of the copyright of that. And some game developers wasn't willing to do that. So that's why it went bye-bye. So cool to have in the collection. Definitely look forward to collecting for that. And I would suspect that in collecting for that, it's going to be conventions pickup. It's going to be online order, kind of eBay thing to find those. I doubt that I'll find those in the wild, simply because it's an imported item. So guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed a little bit of information about the Famicom, the Famicom Disk System, and the Sharp Twin Famicom. My suggestion is, if you want to get in the Famicom Disk System, go with the Sharp Twin Famicom because it has the AV out, and you can also play Famicom cartridges. If you're not into the platform at all, it's a good way to be able to collect for both the disc and the cartridges. They also released another version of the Famicom in '87, I believe. Let me see if I can find it here. The only difference is I think it had turbo controllers, and it's a black and gray with green highlights. I'll throw a picture up here of that as well, so you can kind of see that. But guys, that's all I got for you today. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button. If you're not, don't hit that subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate that. And ring that bell for notifications. You'll be notified when I post a video for you. Until next time.